Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my visions of mana perspective. Yeah, This one isn't bad, it is just your basic JRPG. Like, I played it on PC, didn't really have any technical issues or anything. I wish there were at least some better kind of ways for, like, certain kind of key bindings. But it's kind of very basic, follows your typical kind of JRPG route, roots and tropes, and really doesn't do much to kind of differentiate itself out, other than be like, ooh, pretty visuals. It's like, okay. And this was like my first game in the Mana series, and I'm like, I think I'm more of a Tales kind of series person at this point. I mean, it does stuff that's similar to Tales of like the action aspect of the fighting, but it's not enough to really get you that really invested. I would just spam the certain kind of moves that we would have. Even when we would have elemental vessels that you could change out for elemental affinities and everything, I just stuck to certain kind of ones and did that with my party. So, we're introduced to this world. We've got this mana tree. Evidently, there are these alms that are offered as a sacrifice every 4 years and are guarded over by this soul guard. And that is supposed to keep replenish the mana for the world so everything doesn't go to shit. And you're like, okay, weird for the human sacrifice aspect. What's kind of going on here? Because we see in the beginning that Orin and Liza are trying to stop this. She has been picked as the for Goju, for the earth element, but she then gets turned into stone. And it's like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? And everything's kind of spiraling. And the thing is, sometimes there aren't any alms that are chosen because the place got kind of fucked up or the alm didn't make the journey. And it's like, okay, how often does this happen? What the fuck? But no, it's for this kind of thing and to explain the whole kind of system. So we pretty much are introduced to Val and Hina. Hina being the alm of fire. Val being the soul guard. And we kind of go through it. It's not really an open world. You go through certain kind of overworld kind of levels. You don't get into random encounters. You're able to see your enemies and you just kind of hit through them. I was following a guide and pretty much was able to like level up enough to not really give that much of a crap. There's also side quests, but most of them I didn't find that appealing because they didn't really give either things that I needed or any kind of experience. Except for one that like dealt with you tangentially having to fight other kind of enemies that gave you the experience to be like uber fucking leveled. I did have a shit fucking thing happen where I had to do the final boss a second time because the power fucking went out. That wasn't happy. I was like almost to the end. I was like, no, I need my save clear. It was just like I just wanted this to be over because you go around finding your other kind of elemental party members. You get your wind of shit. She's like one of the annoying ones too. Karina, you get the moon Morley, cat dude. We get Palomina, who's like the squirrel woman, who's that of water. Sproutling Joulet is wood. We get Aish as the alm of darkness. Val, of course, towards the end gets picked as the alm of light because fuck it, we don't know how else we're going to get anybody. So they're pretty much just traveling around gathering their alms. Val and Hina pretty much have a moment of like, why do we need to do this kind of thing? And Orin's like, oh no, trust me, bro, we can do this kind of shit. Utilizes Val's ability to make core stones, which just seems kind of random until it's actually utilized for the plot in this instance. And then later on when we're doing shit at the mana tree to kind of figure out what's kind of going on there. So she gets turned into pretty much a rock, and we don't get her kind of dealt with until later. We just keep getting the whole thing of like them beating up on Val, being like, oh, what the fuck were you doing like this? And it's like, okay, Karina, you're being kind of an asshole. Fuck off. He's already kind of beaten himself up. If you could even look in his general direction, because the woman he loves is now dead, or at least is a rock. And then we see that they go to the mountain tree to pretty much figure out what's kind of going on. Going in stupid kind of circles for other kind of ways because you have to like fuck with like the earth elemental to try and get certain kind of power. The boss battles aren't really much to write home about. I mean, you just spam whatever kind of attacks you can. There's certain kind of like elements that'll help you out a little bit, but it's more just trying to figure out what's kind of going on. It's not that big of a deal. You pick your difficulty and it's like, alright. And then you see that Auron unleashes this Delafos dude, who is both the hero of legend and also the asshole of legend. And it's like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? He gets turned into a core stone, and Liza gets turned into a core stone, and we got those going on. And then they're trying to pretty much find the other alms. They get Aish, and then Val gets pretty much turned into the light one. And we learn as they get pretty much to the mana tree that it is essentially a Warhammer 40k kind of scenario. And you're like, what? This is like happy-go-lucky looking. What the fuck are you talking about, you weird little asshole? Alright. I don't know that much about Warhammer 40k. But I know about the Emperor and pretty much needing sacrifices and shit. It's almost kind of like a dead thing. This is pretty much that kind of scenario. Evidently the worlds were like parted. And then this world was created because there was like a war of mana. The Benevodon things were other kind of elemental kind of things. So you're going through and fighting these things to like make sure that the elementals are cool. And then we see that Delafos goes and utilizes the Benevodons, which he had previously sealed away, and was like, I want to kill the goddess of mana because my beloved was killed, and I'm going to like wipe out humanity because humanity did that thing. And it's like, okay, evidently he somehow got amped up. He's got this sword of mana, and he's evidently able to like infect the land with like his hatred. It's not really explained how he can do that, but whatever. But in order to make sure that like everything in mana was flowing, the goddess is like asleep and pretty much needs the kind of sacrifices of the alms to pretty much replenish the mana to keep the Benevodons sealed away. Well, to keep Delafos' shit on lockdown. So we also see that like this Coda dude is her soul guard and Val's kind of ancestor, who also has this fucking core stone ability thing, which is how they pretty much sacrifice the alms for their sacrifices and shit. It's like, alright, whatever. So we pretty much go around and beat the rest of the Benevodons and then fight and screw over Delafos because he's going completely utterly nutty. And at the end, Val's able to reforge the sword and they don't need to do the sacrifices anymore because he's dead. And we see that Val pretty much grows into an old man, dies, and then gets reunited. Evidently, Coda was in love with the goddess of mana. So evidently, they then shift shit because Hina's pretty much the goddess of mana. Or at least implied in that kind of route. And then Val pretty much just like is her guardian kind of thing now. And then they just talk about shit. And there's stuff that like you could go back at the end, but I didn't want to because I really didn't care that much about the characters. Morley's pretty much got his whole kind of issues of thinking that he killed his town by breaking this kind of thing, and this one dude's like, you literally, even as a child, you couldn't have broken that motherfucking thing. There was other shit that was wrong, you didn't fucking do it. And his shit's kind of worked back out after they beat the Benevodon. Karina kind of helps her village not be assholes, but the thing is, they're more kind of trying to present it that the village is assholes and she's an asshole, but I'm like, she's trying to get them to like actually help themselves, and they're pretty much just ready to just stare at a wall and just be like, we gonna fucking die. We gonna fucking die. Yeah, we gonna fucking die. I'm like, okie dokie. It's just the execution of like flip-flopping tonal whiplash of like, oh, okay, the heroes are trying to help. Let's help them help this shit. It's like, whatever, I don't give a fucking shit. Let's just go and beat this Benevodon, please. It's not really interesting and doesn't really draw you in. I'm just like, I didn't want to do any of this stuff after this end game. No. It's a basic JRPG. It's not really bad where the point of like you could make fun of it or have fun with it in that route. It's not so good that you'd remember it or whatnot. This is not on the level of like my love for like Dragon Quest 11. I love that one. That's like one of my top tiers. Fucking great. Love working through the system and everything. Persona 5 / Royale. That kind of thing of like, alright, the characters, the motivations, everything going on story-wise, what they're attempting to do. This is just like, okay, we're happy to do the sacrifice. And then we kind of get a little bit of stuff of like, why the fuck are we doing this? What the hell is kind of going on? They do at least bring up certain kind of things for it until you get to the end where you're able to just fix it because that's what the plot demands. It's... If I was ever tasked with having like minimal viable product of what you were supposed to have for a game, this would be probably the standard thing of what I would put up as a JRPG that does the things that a JRPG should do. It doesn't do them awesomely well, and it doesn't do them awesomely horribly. It's just an example of what it... Like, do you need an example of a JRPG? Boom. This thing, right here. Would you recommend it? Not really. There are better ones out there where you'd be like, holy fucking shit. Go play pretty much any kind of Final Fantasy. Now, I have not played 13, so if you're like, don't play 13, don't play 13. If you've played it and you're like, don't fucking do that, I'm like on this of like, don't. If this is like your first JRPG, you're going to have a good time because if you like what's in this, you're going to find some other ones that you're going to be like, alright, action ones, turn-based ones, whatever fucking ones you want. If this is what got you into it, I'm glad that it's done that, and that is the bare minimum of what this thing should do. As someone who has played JRPGs and has really ones that like fucking stick with me and have like formed core gamer moments for me, this does fuck all nothing for me and makes me be like, okay, you can put together a competent game. Alright, that's fine, cool, whatever. I don't really... There's other series that do this shit better, like Tales. If you're like, you play this and you're like, I kind of want a little something kind of like this, go to the Tales series. Go over there on that one, because you at least kind of muck around with different kind of stuff that you have to utilize with the action sets. You get more kind of memorable characters, even depending upon which one you pick. Where it's kind of like the same kind of Final Fantasy thing of like, okay, you got your Tales of Symphonia, you got your Tales of Zestiria, / Berseria, you got your Tales of Arise, you got your Tales of Grace F and everything, Tales of Vesperia, and they all got different kind of characters, different kind of motivations and everything. Those still kind of similar kind of things going on. This, I was just like, oh, okay, sacrifices, boo, 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 elemental kind of stuff, flip at the end where you gotta defeat this kind of dude who was the bad guy all along. Alright, fine. And the thing is, I'm like, okay, I get Val's stuff. It just, they sit too long on him stewing on stuff, and it just doesn't move at any kind of pace that's like, alright, cool. The side quests are just... The side quests are just there to pad shit out. I mean, there are certain kind of things that they have, where you would get certain things that'll make the game easier a little bit, but they're fewer and far between. Like, I really didn't use much on the ability seeds. I mainly utilized the thing to go after certain kind of ruin ones to level myself up to just fucking finish the game and be like, I'm gonna beat wholesale ass at discount prices and go away. And just go away. I'm like, alright, cool. And then just see what other kind of games are. I wouldn't... Here's the thing. If you're new to gaming and you're like, what the fuck is a JRPG? I would recommend you to play this and to see if you're into that action-wise. If you are new to JRPGs and you want to understand turn-based ones, I would recommend you to pick a Final Fantasy first, and then maybe explore into different ones, then going kind of to Persona. I say that as a progression because depending upon how you do Persona, you're going to be like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Because it's turn-based, but it does things in a different kind of mechanic and style where you're going to be like, whoa, 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 what the fuck? Get your kind of basics down on your turn-based, like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. Those ones will get you, and then you can kind of explore out and then be like, alright, and then you can go potentially onto the Like a Dragon series and be like, okay, it's really kind of weird. I didn't try and, like, do that on its own. I just played Dragon Quest 11, like, this is fucking great because somebody got it for me as a gift. I'm like, this is rocking shit. And so much so that I did that. Played it on like Xbox. I gotta play it again on PC at a certain point because it's one of my favorite games. And then it kind of set me up for the like a dragon transition from beat 'em up to turn-based, which I kind of like that they've also continuing of certain kind of parts of the series of still doing beat 'em up. That's one that's kind of a good one for having pillars of this series, kind of similar to what Atlas is doing with the Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, Metaphor ReFantazio kind of thing. I hope that they can kind of like lock them in. I like that they are able to take what they've done, basically have a basis for each one, going a little bit more hardcore for the Shin Megami Tensei, darker kind of stories, crazier kind of shit, more on the kind of life sim kind of elements for the Persona series and kind of like social elements and all that. I hope that at a certain point they kind of also split that as well and go for a high schooler one and an adult one, so that way you've got different kind of things and different kind of priority to juggle. I mean, if you want to even keep it in the same kind of realm and possibility, you just make it that you're a teacher at the school. That would definitely present some interesting kind of things and changing up as well. And then Metaphor ReFantazio did show that you can do that kind of like adult kind of stuff as well in a fantasy setting and still keeping the kind of fantasy setting. This one, I wouldn't recommend you to stay away, and I wouldn't recommend you to go for it unless you are new to gaming. And you're like, I want to kind of understand what a JRPG is, figure out console or PC, and kind of go for it. PC, I didn't really have much of any kind of problems. Only thing that happened was like power, which is like an issue that could happen on any kind of thing. You can also play it on keyboard and mouse or controller. Both worked out fine. I just had an issue where my hands, for some reason, I don't know if it was like changing in the season. It's my own hand kind of things where it kind of like did some kind of thing where my thumbs were like putting kind of, not pressure, but like the movement was screwing with my skin. And that was a me problem, not any kind of problem that was going on with the game. But it's a typical kind of story that really won't stay with you. It doesn't do anything horribly, but it does stuff that other games have done before and done better. And if anything, I would like this to be a launching point for someone to then go and find those other kind of games that really stick with you and get you into that kind of genre. But other than that, if you're a veteran, you're really going to get nothing really much out of this, in my opinion. But if you did, power to you and keep that shit. Ignore my fucking ass and just have your fun and be like, yeah, fuck that dude. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Quite alright on that. So those are my opinions on the video game. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.